She thought he was just a homeless man begging for change. But the truth? He was about to save her life in a way she'd never forget. Stay with me, because what happened next will shock you. The rain had just ended, leaving the sidewalks of downtown Chicago slick and shining like glass. People rushed past, heads down, clutching umbrellas, hurrying to their jobs, their homes, their lives. No one noticed the man sitting against the cold stone wall of an abandoned storefront. His clothes were damp, his beard overgrown, and his cardboard sign leaned against his knees. Homeless, hungry, anything helps. His name was Daniel Hayes. Once upon a time, Daniel had been a carpenter. But after his wife died of cancer and medical bills swallowed everything he owned, his life spiraled downward until the streets became his only home. That night, as Daniel pulled his thin coat tighter around him, something caught his eye. A black leather wallet lay, half-hidden near the storm drain. For a second, Daniel thought about ignoring it. Most people would, but something in him stirred. He picked it up. The wallet was thick, heavy, stuffed with $3,200 in cash, a platinum credit card, and a driver's license. Richard Kane. Daniel's breath caught. Everyone in the city knew that name. Richard Kane was a billionaire investor, the man behind skyscrapers and corporations. His face was in magazines. His name was everywhere. Daniel's stomach growled. $3,000 could mean food, shelter, a chance at starting over. No one had seen him find it. The temptation clawed at him like a hunger more powerful than the one in his belly. But Daniel's mother had raised him on a simple rule. Doing wrong never makes life right. He stared at the cash, then closed the wallet with trembling hands. The next morning, he walked 3 miles to the nearest corporate tower. Security guards looked ready to chase him away until Daniel held up the wallet. I found this, he said, his voice hoarse. It belongs to Mr. Kane. One of the guards frowned. Wait here. Minutes later, Daniel was escorted through gleaming glass doors into an office high above the city. Behind a polished desk stood Richard Kane himself, tall, silver-haired, every inch the billionaire. He looked at Daniel with cold curiosity. So, you're the man who found my wallet? Yes, sir, Daniel said quietly, holding it out. It was by the drain near Fifth Avenue. I didn't touch anything. Richard flipped through it, confirming everything was still there. He raised his eyes, sharp and calculating. Do you realize how much money was in here? Yes, sir. And yet you returned it. Why? Daniel swallowed hard. Because it wasn't mine. Richard studied him for a long moment, then reached into the wallet, pulled out a $100 bill, and extended it. Here, for your honesty. Daniel looked at the bill, then back at Richard. His hand shook, but he shook his head. I don't want money. I just wanted to give it back. For the first time in years, Richard Kane was speechless. No one ever refused his money. Daniel gave a small nod and turned to leave, his worn boots squeaking on the marble floor. Richard's voice followed him. Wait, what's your name? Daniel Hayes, sir. Richard repeated it under his breath, as if committing it to memory. Daniel Hayes. That night, Daniel returned to his spot on the sidewalk, exhausted but strangely at peace. He didn't know that his choice had set in motion a chain of events that would change not only his life, but Richard Kane's as well. The next morning, Daniel sat outside the same storefront with his cardboard sign, watching people rush past. He thought little of the billionaire whose wallet he had returned. For Daniel, it was just another day of survival. But for Richard Kane, it was not. Inside his corner office, overlooking the skyline, Richard could not stop thinking about the homeless man who had walked away from thousands of dollars. In Richard's world, everyone had a price. Politicians, business partners, even so-called friends. But Daniel Hayes had looked him in the eye and said, I don't want money. It gnawed at him. That afternoon, Richard told his driver to stop near the place where Daniel usually sat. Sure enough, there he was, hunched against the wall. Richard stepped out, drawing curious glances from pedestrians. Mr. Hayes, he said. Daniel blinked in shock. You remember my name? Richard nodded. Get in the car. I want to talk. Daniel hesitated, but something in Richard's tone wasn't cruel, just insistent. He climbed into the sleek black Bentley, the leather seats a strange contrast to his worn jacket. Minutes later, they sat in Richard's office. Richard leaned forward, hands clasped. I have a question. Why didn't you take the money? You could have disappeared. No one would have known. Daniel looked down at his calloused hands. Because money doesn't fix what's broken. Trust me, I tried that once. Richard frowned. Explain. My wife got sick. I worked double shifts, sold everything, borrowed from everyone. I thought if I could just make enough, I'd keep her alive. But money couldn't stop the cancer. And when she was gone, so was everything else. The room fell silent. Richard leaned back, shaken. He had lost people, too, but he had buried his grief under towers of glass and steel. He cleared his throat. What if I offered you a job? Something steady. Something real. Daniel's eyes widened. A job. Yes. Maintenance at one of my buildings. Good pay, benefits, a chance to rebuild. For the first time in years, hope flickered in Daniel's eyes. But he shook his head. Why me? I'm just a nobody who gave back a wallet. Richard's voice softened. Because in a world where everyone is trying to take, you reminded me what it means to give. You may have nothing, Daniel, but you have what most billionaires have lost, integrity. Daniel sat frozen, tears burning behind his eyes. Report to Montgomery Tower tomorrow morning, Richard said firmly. Tell them I sent you. The next day, for the first time in a long time, Daniel didn't sit on the sidewalk. He walked through the glass doors of Montgomery Tower not as a beggar, but as a man with a second chance. And high above the city, Richard Kane stood at his office window, watching. For years, he had measured his life in profit and loss. But now, because of one homeless man's choice, he was beginning to see a new equation, one where dignity and honesty mattered more than dollars. The billionaire had thought he was the one giving Daniel a chance. But deep down, he knew the truth. Daniel Hayes had given him something far greater, a chance to be human again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And of course, subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one. Your support keeps these stories alive.